Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Down Out Digital World. My name's Luke. Sony have agreed to a 10-year Call of Duty deal with Microsoft, assuming they manage to purchase Activision Blizzard. Microsoft managed to destroy the FTC in court and then again at the appeals process. What else is there? Let's see. Major Nelson is leaving Xbox after over 20 years. I mean, he's been there for as long as I've been a fan of Xbox, longer than I've been a fan of Xbox, which is kind of insane. Major Nelson, massive respect to everything you've done. I really hope everything goes well for you in the future. I know you'll never hear this, but still, you've had such a big impact on the community, and we all look forward to seeing what you do next. Spam calls are up in flames at the minute. Honestly, I've had about 6 myself this week. I just screen call them to waste a couple minutes of their time. Some advice on what to do if you do get one, or if you think you're being scammed, is coming up in a later segment of this episode. 90% of classic games are critically endangered. How on earth did Okay, right, we'll talk about that later. But seriously, this is... Wow, okay. So, that's kind of a few stories. My name's Luke, this is Down Out Digital World, and let's get started straight away. So, first things first, small life update. I said in the last episode that the website would be launching around the same time as the episode. Long story short, a few of the systems I was using had to be completely scrapped and rebuilt, and I had to basically build up new ones using some open source foundations. I was using different open source projects. I swapped over to new ones. I've had to learn how those work, build them up myself, build them differently myself, make sure everything's fine. Things are getting there. We're close, maybe another week or so of development at the most, I'm hoping. I don't want to change the website design a bit now, because I was happy with it when I first started working on it a year ago, but my design tends to change a bit, so I don't want to improve on a few things, But yeah, it's definitely coming together though, which is really good. So that's probably going to be end of next week. Hopefully, maybe beginning of the week after. It all depends on how well I can do development, which is always fun for me to try. And then just there will be no podcast the week after next week. On the I believe it's actually on the 30th of from the 30th of July. So because I'm trying to do once a week, every Saturday or Sunday at the minute, whilst I get myself back into a groove of things. But there won't be one on the 30th. I might record an episode earlier in the week and just push that out on the day early, so that you don't miss an episode. But we will see. We will see what happens. I'm just going on holiday for a bit to celebrate the end of my A levels and everything. I am so glad those are done. Other life stuff, not really, chilling, still working outside of all of this. Glad to be podcasting again, seriously. I haven't had much time for gaming. You'd be surprised the amount of free time I have. I don't spend much for gaming. I'm developing about 3 different projects at the minute, which is why my website's taking so long. Because I've got a couple of open source personal projects. I've also got a few other things I'm working on, which I can't say. But it's just, even when you've got all of this time after A levels, you just end up filling it with so much, right? And meeting up with friends, just all of this. It's amazing. I love it. But there's just no time to sit down and game. And I mean, anyone on an Xbox or PC, segue, here we go, let's talk about the actual news stories now. So anyone with an Xbox or PC, get ready, especially if you have Game Pass, because Microsoft just agreed to a 10-year deal with Sony for, at the moment, Call of Duty. We don't know what else could happen. For all we know, it could actually be more. Phil Spencer was very specific that it was to do with Call of Duty, but remember, that has been a focus point. We don't have the text of the legal document. That's not been given to us. For all we know, it's actually more than Call of Duty. They're just only saying Call of Duty, just as an attempt to probably keep things simple for the average gamer who knows what everything's been about. But this is kind of amazing. I mean, Sony have been resisting this deal ever since it was first offered to them in December of 2022, saying it was inadequate, and also being mad about the public revealing of negotiation breakdown by Microsoft, which I will say is fair enough. They're allowed to be a bit annoyed at the revealing of private negotiations. I think that's relatively-ish justified, maybe. But when you also say, so, you know, I'm not going to wade into the whole debate on Xbox versus PlayStation, who was more right, who was more wrong in the situation. I don't think any side was right throughout the entirety of this acquisition. I just want video games on Game Pass. My opinion is simple there, in terms of that, and what I want on Game Pass. Legally, Microsoft have a better argument than the FTC or the UKCMA or any of the competition agencies so far. So, on a purely legal standpoint, from what I'm seeing from legal analysts, remember I'm not one, but from what I'm seeing from most legal analysts, and yes, have looked at some that are supposedly Sony fans and some that are supposedly Xbox fans, most seem to agree that the FTC's case was extremely weak by going with Sony and like saying that it was on console that the harm was happening. Because especially now that this agreement's been signed, it means that their entire argument is null and void, right? Like, their argument was made null and void when Phil Spencer stood on the swore under oath that he would put it on PlayStation as long as Sony allowed him to. But now that Sony have actually signed an official deal with Microsoft, basically half the stuff that the FTC just said in their court hearing to try and stop the purchase has kind of gone out the window. So, quick roundup of what the Activision Acquisition means for Xbox games, because that's kind of what we know. We just don't know what the current status is for Sony gamers and Activision content. We just don't know. We can make inferences, we can talk about other stuff, but the fact is that we don't know what's going to happen. For all we know, Microsoft will make things exclusive, and we just have to accept that that's a possibility. It's a shame, but it's also a high possibility. Then again, they could also have Activision make new IP that they make exclusive, but then they keep all the old IPs still being actively developed, maybe even revive some old IPs. We just don't know anything. But for anyone in the Xbox ecosystem, whether you play through cloud gaming through Game Pass, which according to Xbox is definitely, totally, completely part of the console market and is not separate in any way, shape or form, which, to be fair, yeah, I would say it's like a subsidy. It's not good enough. It's good, don't get me wrong, but it is nowhere near being good enough to have independent or whatever. So, just, yeah, no, that is not ready yet. But, like, it's just kind of funny to see all of these people, like, arguing that cloud gaming is a separate industry. Like, yes, in the future it will be, and it is important to take preemptive steps against that sort of thing. And the EU has actually done the best at that. With the EU's negotiation with Microsoft to just offer a free license to any EU company to stream the game as long as the person owns it and has a license. 100% amazing. I actually love that. I think that's how gaming should work. You buy one so you can play wherever. I just don't see the point in having to buy it once for PC, once for console. That's also why I love Game Pass, because generally speaking, if it's on PC, it's on Xbox. If it's on Xbox, it's on PC, which I always enjoy. But anyway, so for us Xbox gamers, we're going to have a load of Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass. Who knows, we may even end up getting, I don't know, some Candy Crush perks or whatever, like 50 gold bars a month or something in Candy Crush. I have no clue. But, you know, if you're a Candy Crush player, hey, this could be good for you. You can like this. So, yeah. This is going to be interesting because we're expecting the deal to close on Monday. On Monday UK time, Microsoft have a court meeting thingy with the Competition and Markets Authority and Competition Appeals Tribunal. The CMA and Microsoft both agreed to stop proceedings, to delay the proceedings, so that the CMA could do a new investigation. We're gonna see what comes up tomorrow. There's currently a small question over whether CMA will allow Microsoft to close the deal with Activision and then seek future divestiture, if that's what their secondary investigation comes to. I honestly don't think it will come to that though. Like, the CMA is proposing a 6-week timeline. They've been under heavy pressure from the UK government, which is another story that we're not talking about. I personally think that we're just gonna learn to accept that Activision is part of Microsoft. The CMA is gonna let it go through. I think it's just basically the only people really trying to stop it that we know of is the the FTC, and with their last hurdle, basically PlayStation being gone now, that was their last kind of leg to stand on. The fact is that really they don't have much to say in the way of this proves that it will be harming to consumers, because we now have Call of Duty on more consoles than ever, regardless of what they may say about Microsoft not intending to honour any of their deals that are legally binding and could cost them millions of dollars. Like, if a deal is going to cost you millions to break, then chances are you'll honour that deal. Like, that's just how things work. So I didn't really understand why the FTC was saying that those deals are irrelevant in their court case. It didn't really, like, they are a reality. I don't get why they were being argued as though they're immaterial and have no meaning. But anyway, they weren't ignored. They did have a meaning. But so yeah, that's kind of everything at Xbox Activision Acquisition. Maybe some more coming out tomorrow. If we find out that, hey, Microsoft now own Activision Blizzard and all the games are on Game Pass, then, hey, I mean, you're not getting any complaints from me. The first thing I will do is download the first game on Game Pass from Activision Blizzard. I've actually been boycotting Activision Blizzard since the whole thing came out with all their leadership and everything over 18 months ago now, which is also why I support this takeover. Microsoft do have a history of being quite hands-off with studios that they own, but at the same time, I do believe that they might make an exception in terms of HR and executive positions, I'd hope, given the scandals that came out surrounding Activision Blizzard's treatment of its employees. So that's personally why I'm rooting for the deal. Apart from all the games, I honestly just want for people working in this industry to feel safe. It's not fair that anyone didn't feel safe in their work environment and still doesn't, probably. So that it's really simple, that needs to change. I'm sorry, but everyone has a right to feel safe in there at work. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say to that. So, hey, we will see what happens. For all we know, Microsoft won't do anything. They're going to be forced to hold Activision separate, so they might technically, legally not be allowed to do anything with regard to staffing, but possibly to do with the games. We just don't know what could happen when, but things are looking up. This saga is finally over. 18 months of hearing about this every single week. I swear there was something on the news or on Twitter or somewhere on Threads, for crying out loud, since Threads launched. Something on there every single week about the deal, and I'm so glad to just say it's nearly done. We technically have another 6 weeks, but that's more of a formality. We will see. We will see what the CMA decide to do. I hope they make a sensible choice to not be an outlier. I really do not want I really hope that my country doesn't choose to embarrass itself again with this deal. But we have some positive signs. Some sad news for Xbox. Major Nelson, Larry Herb, is leaving Microsoft after 22 years. He's basically been there since the founding. He decided to take a step back and work on the next chapter of his career after 20 years. I honestly don't know. I kind of can't believe this, really. 'Cause, 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 lots of people have been saying that he's amazing. He's not said where he's going next. He could take time off for family. Is a rumor that's going around. But like, you've got people like Phil Spencer obviously saying a massive thank you to him. You've got the official PlayStation account as well. Again, just the time that, you know, not everything is as dire as it seems. They have said, let's load this up here. They didn't actually say anything. They just tweeted him a green heart and a salute, which is really, really nice to see. Again, just when you consider that, like, with everything that's happened between PlayStation and Xbox in recent months, to see that there's just this common ground is actually really nice to see. It kind of makes me happy to see it, because everyone kind of needs to remember that, yes, they fight. They fight a lot. We can't deny there is a whole PlayStation versus Xbox thing. I think everyone has to remember that at the end of the day, these are games. They're not, for better or worse, they're not life or death. Come at me as you will, those of you who disagree. But in all seriousness though, Larry Herb has been amazing this week on Xbox. I kind of, you know, he's just, yeah, I mean, his bio now says the gamer formerly known as Xbox's Major Nelson, which just, man, that hurts to see. Yeah, he's amazing. He's done so much for it, and I'm so grateful to him for everything he's done for the community. He's actually amazing. So just, everyone remember Major Nelson, because he is just, Larry Herb is incredible in this industry. Honestly, I can't wait to see what he does next. So yeah, that's kind of sad, because just after everything. But yeah. Okay, let's talk about this critically endangered 90% of classic games quickly, because I just want to talk about this. Okay, so so Major Nelson, thank you for everything. Let's talk about 90% of classic video games being gone. Probably the last story of today. I can't really find much that's major. Honestly. There doesn't seem to be too much. There is a bit that I'll go over in a quick bit section in 5 minutes after we go through this. But basically, we're defining classic games as any game released before 2010. Oh my days. What? Okay, that kind of makes sense. But wow, okay. So, wow, okay, so 80% of video games published before 2010 are simply not accessible through legitimate means. I'm not going to talk about unlegitimate means. You want those, find them yourself. But like, it's just insane to me that like all of this stuff that is history, right? Like, this does count as history because it's stuff that was out. This is just, yeah, I don't know. I think there's to an extent, I understand why they have such hard DRM on video games, because you don't want piracy. Piracy is not good. Don't do it. Definitely do not pirate anything. I'm not actually telling you what to do, but anyway. But like, at the same time, this is history. No one can buy these games anymore. Like, I don't know. It's interesting, really. I don't really know what to say to this. It's just so weird. It's just weird to me that we can use the term as the term critically endangered for video games, right? Like that. Like, I understand it's in the terms of archiving video games, but it just feels weird to say those words together. Doesn't really make sense to me. So yeah. I actually didn't even know I was going to do this episode today, honestly. I was going to do it tomorrow, then I was just like, no, you need a new episode. I'm doing this, so that's why it's a bit all over the place. I literally just loaded up three of the first stories I saw. People seem to be loving iOS 17. I don't have access to iOS 17 in any way. It's so annoying. I would love to set up new features. They sound amazing. But I am an Android user through and through. Apple allows sideloading. I will genuinely consider swapping to an iPhone. Honestly, I just need sideloading to be enabled. I'm expecting it in the EU. Just do it worldwide. Make your developers' lives easier. If USB-C comes to an iPhone, even better. Hey, might happen. Although, I also want a foldable phone. I don't know. I'm still deciding what I want next for my next phone. It's all a massive evolving space that is just incredible to be in. But yeah, people seem to be loving iOS 17. I've been beta testing Android 14 Beta 4. It is such a small update. I can't lie, this is a very small update for those of us on Android this year. There are some changes, certainly some changes, but I think this is more of a maintenance update. Again, there's a reason it wasn't spoken about much at I.O. Google is changing how Android works a bit in terms of moving more security style components to an area that Google can update them manually without referring on manufacturers. It's just the way Android works is evolving, and it's good in some ways, but it's also scary because Google is getting more control over Android. Lewis Rosman put out a video a few weeks back about Android becoming slowly less and less open source. I initially disagreed, but upon reflection, I do actually really agree with him. It's a very important topic that even though it's definitely still going open source and as far as the world exists, as far as anything we can tell, they are definitely going more closed source, but as long as one person has source code downloaded and it's an old version, then technically that code was open source, so in theory a branch can exist that's a new version of Android that then gets renamed and stuff. If Google does decide it wants to go down this route, please don't. Google, I like Android because it's open source. It gives me peace of mind that there's so many people that can look at it. Please keep it that way. But it's just one of those things, again, we need to... I don't want to talk for like 5 minutes about some danger going on in tech world, because obviously we've got the increased closed sourcing of everything. Loads of good systems are really closed source, and I understand why, right? Like, you can make so much money in the tech sector if you have something that's closed source because you get to charge for them. Don't get me wrong, I like it. I like the way the tech sector is heading, but I think it's so important that we just keep access to basic functionality open. Things like the ability to have a mobile phone. We need something basic that's open source. Android has been that for years. At the end of the day, anyone can build Android and install it on their phone today. They no longer have a phone dialer or an SMS app, technically at the minute. Things might change. Google, why did you do that? That was stupid. Anyway, but like, the point being that there's some really cool stuff going on. There's also some not cool stuff going on. Microsoft is doing this weird thing where they're closing down Windows but also opening up larger than ever. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, it just weird. Everything is so weird in tech at the minute. Honestly, I can't quite put my finger on it. There's just this weird shift that's happening. I mean, again, as I spoke about last time, Reddit and Twitter are still going down. I'm still on Twitter because at the end of the day, that is where most things are at the minute. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, there's just yeah. I don't know really how to say it. That's just a fact. It's just really interesting to see where the world of tech is taking us. Really. Spam calls as well. I said I'll talk about spam calls really quick. Just please, quick PSA. Keep yourself safe. If you get a call from an unknown number, if you're on iOS 17, amazing feature by Apple. I love this feature. Live voicemail. So it does a voicemail, but it's like, so it's a voicemail, right? But it's you can see the text on your screen. Available for all iPhones. with iOS 17. Awesome, I love it. Go Apple, use it. For Android users, if you're on Pixel only, I don't know why. Google and the Google things, call screen, you can do the same thing as iOS 17 users will be able to do. You've been able to do it on your Pixel for years. It's really useful. It just messes with scammers for a couple of minutes as well, so it just gives you a chance to like think it over. Do I want to pick this up? Do I not? Do I want to mess with this scammer and pretend to go along with it for a bit? Sometimes I go along for a couple of minutes just to delay them from calling someone else, and then the next person they call might not be available. Just pure hope, trying to make someone not lose everything they own, which is basically what these scammers do. I think scam calls are becoming very dangerous now. Lots of people are losing money from it, and we just need to be aware. Unfortunately, regulation can't really do much about this. It's this weird thing that, like, most scammers call people from one country and they're in a separate country to the one they're calling into. So that makes the process of catching these people really hard, right? Because, like, it's not someone who's based in the UK. There's no, like, it's unlikely that the scammer based in the UK calling someone in the UK, right? Like, that would be prosecutable. But when people are in other countries across the world, you know, if they're from France, if they're from India, is unfortunately well known for having scammers in it. Watch Jim Browning's videos. It just has a high population, unfortunately. It just is what it is, you know. So I think there's a couple countries in Africa that have it. I don't know. Obviously there's European countries. France has some. I'm trying to remember names. I think Canada has a few as well. A lot based in Canada actually, but do it. Obviously they'll be the ones based in the US, but do it from the US to one country. Like, they're all over the place. So just be really careful when you're being called. If you think you've got a call from your bank company, if your bank company calls you, hang up, go to the website, get the phone number, call them back. If your TV company calls you, again, same thing. Hang up the phone, go to their website, get the number, call them back. If your phone company does it, same thing. Just do this stuff because it will just keep you that little bit safer and that little bit better prepared for when this sort of thing happens. Just get into a rhythm of doing this. It will annoy the person on the other end of the line if they're legitimate, but if they're not legitimate, it can save you thousands of pounds or dollars or whatever your local currency is. So please, just a word of warning. I've never been frauded, but just if you get an unexpected email, unexpected phone call, unexpected text message, just call back. Just do your own research. Don't call back immediately, even if they say you're going to be arrested or something. Take 5 minutes to research the number. Just search the number in Google, see if it comes up with it being a scam. Please, I really want everyone to stay safe out there because this is a real big problem. Right, okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's so good to be back. We've done about two videos in 2 weeks. This is amazing. I love this. So yeah, I hope you're all having a great day. I hope you have another great week. I will try and do another podcast hopefully midweek, but likely end of the week unless something major happens with Microsoft and Activision again. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening. Also, small behind the scenes. I literally have no idea what's going on with my recording setup right now. I honestly just have my mic in front of me and then 2 screens. I got a completely different setup to what I had last time I did this, so it's really weird, like, recording with 2 screens, like one for all my news stories and one for just podcast. It's awesome. If anyone is not using a dual screen monitor setup and you have the ability to, highly recommend it. Also, I saw Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 in cinemas on Friday. Oh my days, this movie is amazing. if anyone's kind of holding off on watching it because you don't want the whole cliffhanger thing to happen, no spoilers here, but let's just say that it ends satisfyingly. All I'm going to say, it's a satisfying ending to an amazing movie. 100% recommend that you go watch it. 100% recommend if you like that sort of stuff. It is so good. I can't wait for next year. I really want to rewatch it, but that's not going to happen. Like seriously, it's incredible. Just go watch it. You'll have a nice time. Okay, thank you for listening. My name is Luke. Go to my link tree in the description. I've got a link tree now. It has links to all my platforms. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads. I think I've got my Threads link in there. The Down Out Digital World website as well is obviously in there. A link to this podcast you're listening to now. All the platforms it's available on are in there. Go listen to an old episode where I do some better analysis. Yeah, also keep an eye out. I've got some things coming up soon, which different area maybe. Let's just say. All right, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.